What's up, everybody? Howard Bender here from Fantasy Alarm. And guess what? It's fantasy football draft season. No, it's not too early. It's the perfect time. And I've got the perfect place for you to be drafted. I'm talking about FastDraft. The app is absolutely spectacular. Over $250,000 in prizes. Drafts only take 5 minutes, no more than 5 minutes, actually. I've done drafts in their turbo mode where I've just locked in my rankings and then boom, they just run off 10, 15, 20 drafts. You set the amount, however many you want with those rankings, and they take care of it for you. Do yourself a favor here. Click on this QR code you see right in front of me here. And if you don't click on QR codes, because that's how they get you, do yourself a favor. Go to fantasyalarm.com/fastdraft, and they'll give you a $50 match on your first deposit. And with drafts only being like $5, 5 minutes, $5, boom. That's an extra 10 free drafts that you guys get to make. So they also have one of their best features here on the site is that they are also tabulating their own ADP. So when you look at all of their contests, particularly the Flex 4 contest, which I've been locked into right now, all right, you can take a look at who the risers and who the fallers are and make sure you're taking care of all your rankings and you getting the players that you want. So let's start talking about some risers and fallers here through their ADP, see if we can't give you a hand. We'll start with the risers. Malik Nabers. I love seeing Malik Nabers climb up. He's inside the top 10 finally, and I'll tell you why. Because it doesn't matter. Russell Wilson throwing him the football, still better than what was throwing him the football last year. And if Russ is a little sus and we're not into him, guess what? Jameis Winston hiding right behind him. Tell me you can't picture like a 4-game stretch while the team's getting Jackson Dart ready that they're going to throw Jameis Winston in there. And you know that guy's going to throw 40, 50 times, double-digit targets heading over to Malik Nabers' way. Speculative? Sure. But the dude had 170 targets with garbage quarterbacks last year. You know he's going to pop this year. So Malik Nabers definitely on the rise. Another player rising up, Courtland Sutton of the Denver Broncos. ADP is 60, which means that he was out of people's top 60 before, but he's starting to creep in and people are starting to use him. And why wouldn't they? He's led the Denver Broncos in targets in each of the last 2 seasons. He's the X receiver in a Joe Lombardi scheme, which means that targets get funneled his way. Sure, Evan Engram's going to see targets. Maybe even Pat Bryant, Marvin Mims. Maybe one of those guys will see some targets. But Courtland Sutton is the #1 receiver in this format, and he's going to get the bulk of the work. So good to get invested in him. I love the Broncos this year. I think it's the perfect time to make it happen. Now, another riser here, Dalton Kincaid of the Buffalo Bills. Now, before you get all crazy, this is not a rah-rah ringing endorsement. This is a riser who shouldn't be rising. And you shouldn't be investing either. And I'll tell you why. Because we've got all these interchangeable cogs in the Buffalo passing game, right? Elijah Moore, Curtis Samuel, Khalil Shakir, Dawson Knox, Dalton Kincaid. They're all the same. They're all running intermediary routes. Keon Coleman's the only guy who can stretch the field. So if you've got all of these interchangeable parts running around there, there's no alpha receiver. There's no way to distinguish who's going to see the targets and who isn't. And when you're looking at a tight end, because this isn't tight end premium, when you're looking at a tight end, he needs to either be first or second in targets for his team in order for him to pop. Dalton Kincaid, not that guy. So be very careful of him being on the rise. Now, some fallers, very interesting here. Not every faller is because of performance or anything like that. For example, Lad McConkey. He's falling in ADP numbers, but it's not because of anything that he's doing. It's simply a matter of people moving other players into their top 60 to get more exposure. They're also probably dropping Lad McConkey in their overall rankings just to decrease maybe some of the extra exposure that they've had from him. But we know McConkey is a stud. He's a PPR dream. He's the #1 target in this offense. And now they've given like Trey Harris and Tyler Conklin, a couple of other pass catchers here to help maybe draw some coverage away. McConkey, still the stud. Don't worry about his ADP falling here. DK Metcalf. Here's another faller, which actually kind of surprised me because when you go from Mason Rudolph to Aaron Rodgers, the expectation is that you're getting a big increase, and you might be. But we know that Aaron Rodgers is a contentious guy. We know that he fights with receivers because if they're not on the same page, Rodgers likes to throw to a spot on the field, not directly at the target. He wants to lead his receiver and hopefully increase yards after the catch. DK Metcalf, not the crispest of route runners as is, gets very physical with the defensive backs. They try to challenge him. They try to throw him off his game. And if he's not at that exact spot that Rodgers is throwing to, then it's going to be a problem. And we're going to see the two of them butt heads on the field. So surprisingly, DK Metcalf dropping, I'm not against it. And then finally, my last ADP faller here, Chris Olave from the New Orleans Saints. I'm not a hater. I love Chris Olave. I love the talent. I love the player. I love everything about him except for his quarterback and his concussion history. Tyler Shugg, Spencer Rattler, I don't know who's throwing him the football, but you can't tell me that you're not going to see some hospital balls get tossed up like that because of these inexperienced quarterbacks, right? Olave is just too big of a risk in a situation, in a field like this. Right? If you're only drafting out of your top 60, you're only drafting 6 players in the Flex 4 contest. Best ball format gives you the 4 best. But if you're only drafting 6 players, you got to minimize your risk. And Olave, as great as he is, way too risky right here, right now. Give the Saints a better quarterback, then I might be in. But for right now, Go check out everything that we've got over at fantasyalarm.com and get yourself in on this deal over at FastDraft. One more time, here's that QR code. Zap it, baby. Get a deposit match up to $50 on your first deposit and jump into their drafts. They've got all sorts of promotions working, including every Friday, they're doing giveaways. You jump into their turbo mode, and they've got giveaways of $500, $1,000, all in bonus cash for you to be drafting. So again, that's fantasyalarm.com/fastdraft. Promo code ALARM. Get you that $50 match deposit. QR code does it too. I'm Howard Bender. I'll see y'all in the money this year.